Tony D and Little Joan somewhere in the background, and this is a screenwriter's take on Godzilla Minus One. Oh, oh yeah. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books. The links are in the description. Comedy Horror in South Jersey. It's the Pineys. Books 1 through 14 available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free. All right, as always, I'm going to start with the non-spoiler review and then get into the spoilers. We'll break down the script. Really good script here. When you're doing a monster movie like this, you really got to focus on the human characters while at the same time including the monster enough that it feels like it's a monster movie, right? So that's the challenge here. And the guys at Godzilla Minus One really do a good job of having that balance. Godzilla appears and then he goes away and he comes back and he keeps coming back, and they space it out. The pacing in this movie is spot on. Just spot on. Not much fat in this movie. It's very sort of straightforward. Takes place, for those of you who don't know, in post-war Japan. This literally starts right at the end of the war. Your main character is I don't want to give too much away because it's kind of crucial to the story, but he was in the war, and his journey is really what we follow, and it's heart-wrenching at times. It's an emotional roller coaster as the guy really tries to deal with this, his guilt and post traumatic stress, and a bunch of other issues that are mixed in, while at the same time Godzilla's there, kind of ruining his life. And Godzilla is the bad guy in this, which makes him badass. I mean, Godzilla is so badass in this movie, you won't believe it. Just amazingly evil and vicious, in a way that's cool. That's cool. Now, it doesn't make him out to be petty. It's still very much an animal sort of instinct driving Godzilla. But the thing that I think was missing from previous Godzilla movies, and I'm talking ones prior to this era, you know, they would put Godzilla in and then somehow they would try to make him a good guy or not that bad or whatever. No. In this one, Godzilla's a monster. He's stepping on people, eating people. This is what I want to see in a Godzilla movie. Godzilla is shocking. And even though you're expecting that, even though that's what Godzilla has always been, you know, it didn't try to subvert my expectations, and yet it was still shocking to see Godzilla stomp on people, throw things around, cause all this major mayhem. I think because a lot of it is filmed from the point of view of the humans, not Godzilla. And I think that was also another mistake in the previous eras. I think a lot of it was filmed from the perception of the monster. It's not what we want to see. We want to see Godzilla portrayed as an almost unstoppable force, and that's what he is in this movie. He's near unstoppable. It's also great, the post-war Japan technology. They also get into why Japan is sort of fighting this on its own. Why nobody knows about it in history. So all these things are explained in the movie in such a way that makes sense. Everything comes together. All the characters have their own personalities. You're following along with characters. You care about these characters. So, and I cannot believe this movie was made for $15 million. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? The effects in this movie are great. They're not good. They're great. They deserved a pile of Oscars for this. This is easily the best Godzilla movie I've ever seen. Easily. easily. So now you might say, "Oh, I'm not really into Godzilla." Godzilla is there's a balance here. Okay, it's the story focuses on the people. Godzilla is portrayed as he should be, a almost a force of nature that you don't know if they're going to stop this, because the movie is kind of dark for a lot of the movie, and a lot of people get killed, a lot of people. So you don't know who's going to live or die by the end of this thing, because Godzilla is portrayed in such a way, there is no way these guys are going to win. No way. Oh, excuse me. All right. Sorry, it's late. That's my non-spoiler review. 10 out of 10. Everything as advertised. This was a really good flick. Glad I saw it. I was anxious to see it. And usually when I'm so anxious to see a movie and I have high expectations, the movie doesn't meet those. In this case, it totally did. Totally did. So let's get into the spoilers. Let's break it down. All right. So, spoilers ahoy. First act starts out with the kamikaze pilot landing his plane. And, there is a size discrepancy with Godzilla that I think has been in previous movies. And so this movie addresses that. Godzilla is a smaller sized monster when he's first encountered on Odo Island, where he fights the kamikaze and his mechanic crew. And of course, Kima, can't say his name. I'll say the kamikaze pilot. The pilot, I'm going to call him, so I don't keep mispronouncing it. The pilot, our main character, freezes up. Not only does he abandon being a kamikaze, which you kind of can't blame him, and nobody does, but he freezes at a crucial moment and gets the mechanic's crew killed. And then he survives the war, but he has tremendous guilt over getting everybody killed. Goes home, finds his parents dead. His neighbor sort of shames him for being a kamikaze pilot and not going through it. She blames him for the death of her children. His parents are dead. It's all a disaster in post-war Japan. But then he runs into a woman with a baby who's being chased for stealing food. Ends up, she crashes at his house. She has nowhere to go. The baby isn't even hers. And she was given it. Her mother gave over the baby because she was dying. Gave it to the woman, and everybody in post-war Japan has lost everything. So the baby's lost her parents, the woman's lost her parents, and the pilot's lost his parents, and the woman next door has lost her children. So a weird family emerges, in which the pilot and the woman and the baby live together and raise the kid and become like a little mini family. But he can't get over what happened on Odo Island during the war. He can't get past it. He eventually gets a job disarming the mines and saves the family, but he can't get over the war. So in the second act, Godzilla returns. They try to kill Godzilla. They manage to injure him, but he regenerates. Then it turns out one of the guys who's friends with the pilot happens to be a scientist working on a secret plan to kill Godzilla. So they come up with this plan. It's kind of an interesting plan. The plan is to sink Godzilla at the bottom of a trench, hoping that the compression will kill it. And then if that doesn't work, using decompressing to kill it. So they hatch this elaborate plan. But a key to the plan would be the pilot piloting one of the last experimental planes that was never sent out during the war, but he'll need a mechanic to fix it. So the pilot goes through all this trouble to get this pilot back. In the meantime, Godzilla attacks, and during the attack, the pilot tries to save his, I don't know if you'd call it, his wannabe wife. They're not married. He can't marry her because he can't get over the war, but it's clear they're kind of in love, and they've been living as a family, but not as husband and as wife. And but they're very honorable. So he goes to Ginza to save her. He just manages to save her, but then Godzilla comes, and in the process, there's a big explosion, and she saves him, but she is, of course, seemingly killed. And I thought she was killed, because that's the kind of movie it was. It was really set up to be that way. It was set up to be sort of dark. And then he's teeing himself up to finally complete his mission as a kamikaze pilot. And this is very key for a good script, because what the writers and creators did is they considered all possibilities. So you can watch this movie and you could see another movie. And in another movie, he does complete his mission as a kamikaze pilot and kill himself and destroy Godzilla. But there's a humanity in this movie. And the humanity comes from the mechanic who he gets from Odo Island, who's mad at him for killing his crew, but even though he sets up the plane to explode and he stuffs it full of bombs, he also installs an ejection seat because he tells them to live. And it's a scene that they hint at when it happens, but then they flash back to it. And that's a great scene because it's like seeing the mechanic finally forgive him for his mistake. And by forgiving the pilot, the mechanic unburdens his own soul, and it's this sort of happy moment. And then, of course, the fight with Godzilla is just badass. Godzilla is crazily badass in this. And then they actually manage to kill him. They actually, or at least kill him enough until the next movie. Of course, you can't really kill Godzilla. But they blow off his head and he starts to regenerate, in classic monster fashion. At the very end, you see Godzilla starting to regenerate. But obviously, it's going to be until the next sequel, whenever that takes place. I think the next one, if I had to pick an era, they should probably make it appear in the early 60s, I think, when the original movie came out. I think that's when the original movie hit, was the early 60s, so then it should return, and then, we get early 60s technology, space rays, and whatever. But the journey the pilot goes through is so, gut-wrenching. I mean, they really spent time. He's having nightmares. He's torn. He doesn't just do things. He's torn inside about it. He doesn't want to tell anybody. He feels guilt and shame. And so he doesn't just get over it. He goes through this entire movie to get over his guilt. And in the end, he's rewarded when he does eject and he manages to get home, only to discover that his girlfriend, whatever you want to call her, actually survived the explosion and ended up in a hospital. And she's been recovering all this time. So she's alive. And what a happy ending that was. After all this gut-wrenching stuff, I really thought she was dead. And so kudos to the filmmakers, because they had me on a journey. And then when he reconnects and they are reunited at the end as the family that they've become, what a great moment. I was so happy. It was so happy. I mean, so many movies come out and they end in this dreary way, and they're not even practical. They're not even practical. And when I go to the movies, what I want to see, I'm in it to see real life. I can see real life by going outside. I'm not in it. I'm in it to see something fantastic, to see something bigger than life. This is a Godzilla movie. You don't have to wow me with how realistic the ending is. You don't. In fact, you shouldn't. This is exactly what I wanted. I wanted to see Godzilla do some badass things, and then I wanted to see, against all odds, some guys finally kill or wound Godzilla to the point at which he's not coming back for a while. So these guys really know how to make a movie, and like Godzilla trashing Ginza, it's great too. It's amazing. People getting stepped on. By that time, he's bigger, of course, because of the radiation. So there was that. So we got guys being eaten on the island. We got people being stepped on. He ate a train. He knocks over buildings. He uses his heat ray to cause a huge mushroom cloud of explosion that just wipes out part of the city. I mean, spectacular movie. Spectacular. This is the way to do it. Big, huge payoffs here. You know, we go from a guy who's living in a rundown house, just trying to survive in post-war Japan, to a guy who's fighting Godzilla and finally beats him. He almost beats him in the boat scene, but you know, and then they use that knowledge to eventually beat him. So really like this movie. This movie should have been nominated for more awards. Again, Hollywood's got to pull its head out of its butt and acknowledge one of two things. Either you are the Oscars for the entire world, which means this movie should have been up for Best Picture. Probably should have won it. I forget what won this year. Or last year. This came out last year, I think. Although they weren't going to give it to a movie like Godzilla -1, but if you're not the Oscars for the world, then this absolutely should have been Best Foreign Picture. Should have totally been in the running at least be in the running. You can't do this mishmash of Oscars and expect people to find it legitimate. It's like they sit around going, well, we have to, this movie's so good, we have to give it something. Well, we can give it special effects. Okay, let's do that. This movie was good on every level. It wasn't just the special effects. These guys should have gotten Best Picture, Screenplay, the performances off the charts. Come on. Come on. This movie was really good. I really enjoyed it. It's on Netflix now. If you haven't seen it, if you haven't, I've just spoiled it for you. But I warned you. And this is the way we do it. This is the way you do it. Put everything in. You know, a movie like this, you want a character to really go on a journey, and the pilot really does. He goes from being, you know, shamed, guilt-ridden, tortured. I mean, he goes through hell. But in the end, he wins. And that's what's great about it. That's what's so great about it. He's tortured. You feel for this poor guy. You know? And he's finally given a chance to redeem himself. And he does, and you really want it. You know? And along the way, he meets other characters. And they all had interesting... You know, they weren't just there. God. It's a breath of fresh air to see a movie like this. When I see movies like this, I finally go, this is why I got into screenwriting. These are the kinds of movies I want to write. These are the kinds of movies I want to get made. And you just wonder, you look at Hollywood and you go, what the F are they doing? What the F are they doing? So, it was everything promised. Easily the best Godzilla movie I've ever seen. Easily. So you should all see it. Godzilla -1. Probably going to be the top thing on Netflix. I'm going to go vote it up right now. I think I forgot to do that. So thanks for tuning in. I will be back with more videos later, and we'll see you in the next one.